Hey guys, it's been a minute, but I'm back. This is Dax Gordine, and I thought I'd do a video on how to draw webcomics, the Forest Folk Edition. This is webcomic number 333 from my Forest Folk webcomic series. If you haven't read it, by all means, go to forestfolkcomic.com. All of them are up there for you to read. So you got a lot to catch up on. If you do know what it is, then you have an idea of what's going on, or we're just giving you some behind the scenes on how I come up with and create these webcomics. So I thought I would do a quick video here along the lines of the stuff I do for my patrons, which I'll plug now as well too. It's patreon.com/DaxGordine, and you can join along and get all kinds of behind the scenes cool stuff and early access to these comics, for example. Weekly comics become early. You get bonus design work, bonus images that I draw, discounts to commissions when I open them up, critique possibilities in my third tier. You get one of those a month if you're a third tier member. All that kind of great stuff. But anyways, you guys go over and take a look at that. So anyways, my process when I'm doing a webcomic here, as you've been seeing here, this has been the rough layout phase. So I basically, the night before or throughout the week at some point, I'm doing a script, a loose script, and I basically write down what panels are going to happen and what's basically going to be happening in rough style. Very, very rough style. So in this one, I'm doing a fanfic, basically my ode to Star Wars. And I felt like drawing Jedis and stuff, and I managed to fit it into my world. So I will force it into my world. But anyway, so I start doing layouts, as you seen, they're very rough and loose, and just kind of paneling out the panels and the positioning relative to each other, not worrying too much about the details at that point, just making sure it all kind of works out. Fast forward to where we are right here in the video, and I'm trying to figure out how I wanted to draw Thomas in this last image. He's the Sith Lord in this comic strip, so I wanted to kind of make this last panel pretty foreboding and moody. So that being said, I kind of had the hardest time with that panel. I kind of changed my mind a couple times on that. So what you saw there, you can back up and take a look at it and see how I kind of did, I think, 3 or 4 versions, and opted for the head-on view there to really get that kind of head tilted down, looking at the camera, angry kind of face. Now we're on to what I call the tie-down phase, and at this point here, I'm kind of the beginning was so rough that I decided I wanted to, and they have different costumes, like fancier costumes than usual, so I wanted to kind of make sure the costumes were working. I'd done a design pass on the costumes earlier that week. Actually made a design sheet. You can see that now on my Instagram, of the characters and their outfits. But that was actually on my Patreon about a week and a half earlier than that. So that's the kind of stuff you get on there. But anyway, yeah, so I wanted to make sure that the costumes were feeling good and just kind of really solidify the poses. So I decided to do a tie down layer this time, and I was just there deciding like how wanted to really kind of get a stylized look for the rocks, the backgrounds, and all that kind of stuff. As before you saw, it was just like squiggly lines. So now these are just cleaner squiggly lines, but lines that nonetheless I can ink over much, much easier. As you can see here, Filbert is looking very moody and Jedi-like there. He's obviously contemplating what's happening or what's to come. And we've got lightsabers igniting and stuff like that. A lot of fun in this comic. Stuff I'd have always wanted to do, but find hard in the comic. My webcomic style of coloring medium, I kind of pushed it a little bit in this. Normally I do a very flat kind of Saturday morning or Sunday morning funnies comic, retro style, easy cell shaded kind of coloring style. But in this one I pushed it a little bit more because I want to have things like a glow vibe on the lightsabers and have them look cool and stuff like that. So you'll see that when the coloring comes up. I was really enjoying drawing Thomas as a Sith here because for those who have read the comic, they know, but Thomas is a very happy-go-lucky elf. He's always smiling, always happy, for the most part anyway, and he's never bad and never evil. So doing him being the villain in this little story arc was fun. I'm actually finishing up the third one in the series tomorrow, or it'll be this weekend. It'll be online, so keep an eye out for that to see the epic conclusion. But yeah, so going into inking now, I've adopted a new brush. I can't remember which the name of it is, which is actually pretty useless if you're making a video like this. But it's a pen from Clip Studio Paint. I love Clip Studio, and it's an inking brush, or it's a pen, and it's like two. Next time I do a video, I'll let you know what the actual brush is. But it's a much messier brush pen than I've been using lately, and it really allows me to kind of get that authentic traditional look in some of these lines, and it's all digital. So yeah, as you can see here, I'm just kind of the inking process is sped up immensely for me. I work fastest like this when I've done a tie down, as I mentioned earlier. So the at this point, I'm just kind of mindlessly tracing and just making sure that I maintain the energy that I had in my red lines there, or my tie down page or layer. That's for me, inking at that point is just maintaining the energy I had in those pencil lines. A lot of there's other artists out there that do it, would go straight to ink from the very first rough that I did, and kudos to them, because I tend to lose all kinds of form when I do that. So I come from an animation background where tying down and cleaning up the rough layer first before going to inks was a much more viable option for me, and it worked better for me. So I've just stayed kind of that way throughout my career, for the most part anyway. More Filbert the Fox here, igniting his lightsaber, cleaning this up, having some fun with it. There's something to, I've always loved doing action comics. Basically, when I grew up, I was watching all kinds of anime, like probably way before you guys, anybody watching this video, but things like Astro Boy and Battle of the Planets and stuff like that, like the early anime influence in North America. Stuff like that was super huge for me. I didn't even understand why I liked it at the time, but I just knew that I liked the camera angles. When I look at it now, I know it was the camera angles and the kind of the mood that it created. Very epic kind of, fight sequences and stuff like that. So I always end up falling back on that when I get to have some fun with some action, and that is the case here, because Forest Folk is not generally have many battles in it. It's more of a jokey kind of comic and playful humor kind of stuff. So this was fun to do. And yeah, so here we go. I'm finally inking that last panel there of Thomas, the big payoff panel, where we reveal that he's under there and he's in fact a Sith. So those lines came in the cleanup was made much easier by having those lines, like I said before, the tie-down lines, the pencil below it in blue. Made a lot of the decisions a lot easier. Sorry, let's take a sip of water. This is a very casual voiceover here, so I haven't done one of these in a while, so forgive me. If you have any comments, please leave them in the. I'll read them all and do my best to answer them. But any suggestions or content you'd like to see, I'm going to start posting video stuff again. Between here and my Patreon. I always say that wrong. Between here and my Patreon. Of course, they'll get it first. Patrons will get it first, and it'll be more in depth there too. Things like I'm thinking of starting a Zoom kind of live draw once a week or once every 2 weeks there too, where I can sit there and sketch like a Twitch stream kind of thing, and answer questions and art questions you may have, or just life questions and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah. Oh, so there you go. There's the, when I started coloring, I just went straight to my page, my character design sheet that I did earlier that week. And I just started picking colors with the color picker off there just to make it easier for me. So when I color stuff, I just kind of flat it all in. It's the fastest way to go for me. And coloring is the thing that slows me down the most personally as an artist. I'm not a great colorist. I prefer the drawing aspect of it. Sometimes coloring will take me as long as what you've just seen in this video. So from the thinking of it to the rough to the tie down to inking will take just as long as coloring. For some reason, I'm pretty slow at that. So and making decisions with, like, especially when it gets more complicated in the colors, like these strips are becoming, because there's like lighting effects from the sabers and mood background lighting and stuff like that, whereas, the normal strip is much more, sky is blue, grass is green, that kind of stuff. So once I do the flats on the characters, I generally don't even touch the backgrounds. I'll do the shading on the characters as well, just to kind of get a feel for that and have that done and dusted. So here I'm putting, you just see I put all the shading on the characters. And then I go into the backgrounds like I'm doing right now, just slapping down a bunch of colors. I wanted to kind of have like a Tatooine vibe, like just like an alien planet vibe. So I kind of stuck with like a greenish brownish color across the board there, and I kept it simple. Had a lot of fun with it that way, keeping it simple, and it just looks nice bouncing off their clothes. I got to get faster at talking right now because this is almost over. So the skies, I had fun with the sky too because I started off pink and then I wanted it to be dark, fading in, symbolizing, as you can see there from the bottom 3 panels are different than the top. It's showing kind of foreshadowing Thomas's reveal, dun dun dun, as he's the Dark Lord there. And as you can see, I'm coloring in some lightsaber sound effects. That was terrible, but you know what it's supposed to be. That was still terrible. It's always fun putting those final lighting bits on there, and yeah, like those little bonuses, which I don't normally do in the comic, but again, because of the lightsabers, it was fun to put a little extra love in there. And here we are. So the video is about to end, but here's where I start to throw down what I've written down earlier into actual text form. Clip Studio Paint has a great bubble text and bubble function, so that's what did all of this stuff. And you can see it's just it takes longer than this, but that's it. So join me on patreon.com and enjoy the rest of your day.